service providers. Welcome to the Arborist Marketing Pros podcast. It's me, your host, Justin Rademacher. Welcome to our very first podcast. And in today's episode, we're going to break down sort of what I would consider to be the launch pad, which is how do you create a website that can grow and scale with your tree service business. Um, Before we jump into that, just a little bit of quick background is, our company has over 20 years experience doing digital marketing, and we have decided to only focus on we'll call it our favorite clients, which are our tree service clients. And so, in the tree care industry, we've sort of got some experience with some clients that are getting a great return, and we are here on this podcast to take the lessons that we've learned and share them with anybody that's trying to DIY or grow and scale their tree service business. So let's jump right in. You've got a ton of options with how you get this task accomplished, right? We recognize that we probably need a website, but there are a myriad of tools out there that you can use to build your own website. Should I use like GoDaddy, where it's virtually a free website or a super small cost per month? Or do I hire an agency to build me a $2,500, $3,000 website? What's the difference, right? Now, obviously, we are an agency, so maybe my perspective has shifted. I don't know. But here's what I do know is that as your business continues to grow, you're likely going to be bringing on new software, new team members. You're going to start working in different areas, hopefully. Your equipment will change. Your financial position will change, hopefully, right? Like for the better. And so you need a website that is going to be flexible enough to allow you to do anything that you really need to do. And for that, I always recommend using a WordPress site. There's a couple of other options out there that you can sort of DIY if you're scrappy and just getting started. But really, the purpose of this podcast is to talk about how to build a website that's going to grow with your business. And so, um, uh, first things first, I would make sure that you have a WordPress website. It's better for SEO. You have more capabilities. There's just so many more things that you can do. Now, what's the most important? Obviously, there's an increasing trend of customers searching online for local services, not just searching online. That's been a thing for the last decade, but really the near me type searches, right? Like I'm looking for a tree company near me. How much does it cost to remove a palm tree near me? We're in Florida, so I'll say palm tree. How much does it cost to remove an oak, right? Those types of search queries, if your website is coded properly and you have the right content, should and could link directly to your business. Your business should be showing up for those types of search queries. A website is basically acting as your business's digital storefront. So it creates the very first impression that somebody has of your business. Now, a lot of very successful companies out there are doing a ton of commercial work, or at least some regular, steady, consistent commercial work. I can guarantee you that your website will become significantly more important as you're approaching these commercial customers. So, let's jump into the website basics. What are the key elements for arborists to know when it comes to building out their website? First things first, you need a clear and professional design. It needs to be clean. A lot of times we can get caught up in, I'm guilty of this, we can get caught up in, I want the flashy, I want the banner, I want the website to be super cool and do all these animations. And what we don't realize what we're doing is we're actually distracting the user, right? With all of our cool animations and GIFs and sliding in text and all these things and widgets and boxes and all these plugins. And there's a lot of things that we can put on a website, probably not that we should put on a website, right? So it needs to be clean. It needs to be professional. You want to make sure that you're showing off like your work. You want to be showing off your equipment. If you've got these huge investments in these in equipment and crew and staff, right? Make sure that you're showcasing that. For our clients, a lot of times we'll recommend spend a little bit of money, hire a professional photographer to come out that actually has that eye for how it's going to look once it's on your site, and have them take the photographs. And then they can work directly with your agency, or you can just take the photos yourself and post them onto your own website. So, super, super important, nice, clean design. Make sure that it is mobile responsive. Now, commonly, if you're going to do this yourself, right? Or even if you're paying somebody that maybe does this on the side or something like that, we will build the website on a computer, right? Because it makes more sense. But if you're not actually designing it to be used on the phone, on the smartphone, then what you're going to end up with is a website that is designed for the desktop. However, most of the time, 63% of your website visitors are going to be coming from mobile devices. So what we do and what we recommend is design most website tools. You can design the website in mobile portrait mode, right? If you design it that way and then think of desktop as a secondary, you're actually going to have a much better consumer experience. So design your website or make sure whoever's doing it is designing your website in mobile portrait mode. Along with the concept of mobile is your website speed. So a lot of the things that we talked about earlier, right? You've got these flashy animations, you've got slideshows, you've got videos playing. All of that looks really cool, but everything that you put on your website comes at a cost. It comes at a cost of page load speed, right? And we live in an era when you have ridiculously fast internet, even on mobile devices. However, when Google, I think Bing does too, whenever they actually crawl the web and they say, okay, how important is this website? How high do I want to rank these guys, right? Because at the end of the day, one of the other biggest components of your website is making sure that you're getting found on Google by new customers. They're going to look at things like your page speed score. And if your website isn't designed for mobile, speed included, you're going to get penalized from Google and you're not going to show up and you're not going to end up with as much business as you should have, right? So it has to be fast, has to be designed on mobile, and I strongly encourage you to use WordPress for future integrations and just it's the standard. It's the industry standard is to use WordPress. Um, so once you've got that all taken care of, the next thing is now that you've got some eyeballs coming to your site, how do you convert them, right? Like, how do I take this person, this anonymous website visitor that just came to my website? Maybe they saw some of my gallery, they saw some of my work, they really appreciated how we prioritize safety, they saw that we have new equipment and that we really have got our stuff together. How do we get them to actually pick up the phone and call us or express interest? It might be 3 o'clock in the morning. It might be 10 p.m. at night. Maybe it wouldn't be the time when most people would call. They need to have the ability to leave you a message. And so, for every time that you are providing value on your site or showcasing the value of your services, you need to have a CTA. It stands for call to action. It's like, what do you want that person to do? What action do you want them to take? And oftentimes, it's as simple as get a free estimate, right? Get a free quote, call now. Those are all CTAs. And there are buttons that or forms that you can put on your website where they can put in their name, their phone number, their email address, maybe the type of job that they're looking to have a quote done on, and maybe their zip code where they live, so you can get a sense of like how far of a travel that would have to be, so that you can call them and get somebody out there to give them an estimate on the job that they need. So make sure that all of your contact methods are easy, right? If you have your phone number blasted on your website, which you should, right? If you do, make sure it's clickable. Don't just have the phone number there and expect that the consumer is going to bounce back and forth between their dialer and their phone and actually, or in the website and actually program that number in. Make it so where they can just simply click on it and open up the phone. The less friction, the better, especially on your website. So, as far as the content and the structure of your site, you want to have service pages. Again, this is a game of teaching Google who you are, what you do, and where you do it, right? Those main three things. Who you are, that's what your website's purpose is. Who you are, what you do, where do you do it, right? So, what we generally will recommend is if we have a clientele or we have a client that is working in, one county, two counties, but these are really the money counties, right? Like these are the where most of our jobs come from. Maybe they're higher income, maybe they're a more dense population. Like these are the areas where we really want to target. We're going to create pages specifically on your website, and this is just general SEO. We're going to create pages for tree removal Daytona Beach or tree removal Orlando, tree trimming Daytona Beach. That way, when somebody types into Google, I need tree removal cost, right? Google says, okay, You're in Daytona. I know that because I'm Google and I know everything. You're in Daytona. I'm going to find what companies are actually in Daytona that service Daytona that do tree trimming or tree removal, and that will slowly over time rise you to the top, which again, the whole purpose of all this nerd stuff is to get more phone calls and more quotes and more estimates coming in so that you can book more jobs. So we do dedicated pages for each service that are service locations, right? And then make sure that those pages are all linked together. This is really simple to do in something like WordPress, maybe a little bit more complex on something like a Wix or a website builder because you want to embed maps and things like that. There's a lot of other layers that you can do here, and that's why we always recommend WordPress. So use the keywords that your customers are searching for, use the money keywords, focus your content around what people are going to be asking for when they're calling in that is going to drive the best revenue for your business, right? So service pages. Highlight the benefits, not just the features, right? Like what is the put yourself in the customer's shoes. What are they going to get out of working with you as opposed to doing it themselves, as opposed to hiring somebody that's cheaper, as opposed to just ignoring the problem and hoping that it goes away, right? Like what is the value of taking care of the trees on my property if I'm doing a trim or some maintenance items, right? Like what's the value? And communicate that value on your website. That should be part of your content strategy. So, yeah, make sure that you're focusing on the value. Things like we'll keep your property safe and clean versus just listing that we do tree trimming, right? The value. Um, we touched briefly on search engine optimization and all that is just a fancy way to say get your Google rankings up higher, right? And so we have different categories of SEO that we play in. We're going to talk about local SEO. So when we're talking about that, really we're talking about, you might have heard it called the 3-pack or the Google Map Pack or your Google Business Profile, right? But you really want to focus on your local services. And the reason why is when you type in any service provider, whether it's tree service providers, plumbers, doesn't matter, Target, right? You're going to be shown first things first, aside from ads, first things first, you're going to see the map pack, right? Where are the local businesses near me that are ranking? You absolutely want to crush and dominate that map pack because that is going in turn to have a huge, huge effect on your bottom line. So things that really are important for your map pack ranking, reviews, reviews, reviews are king of your map pack ranking. There's other things as well. Your Q&As on your business profile. So if somebody asks a question, make sure that you answer it and make sure that you answer it with the keywords that you want people to find you on, right? Make sure that your business profile is filled out and complete and has photos. You can also post to Google Business Profile, much like a social media platform. And it's very simple and very user friendly. Um, One other thing that's huge and very important is make sure that you have a website that is SEO friendly, that is linked to your Google Business Profile. So that's where all this ties into the website is your website has to communicate where you're doing business. So we embed maps onto the website so that it's very synced up and we link to the Google Business Profile so that Google knows this business profile belongs to this website and here are the services and the areas that they do their jobs in, right? So make sure that you're integrating Google Maps onto your website. Last but not least, you want to build trust. So have some testimonials on your website. Have, any certifications, if you are, ISA or any other certification, have those listed on your website. If you're BBB accredited, make sure that you're posting those things on your site very prominently because one of the benefits or one of the things that I talk to tree service providers often is they're afraid or they're at least aware that they can be undercut by somebody that doesn't have the overhead because they're not as professional or put together as a company. So you need to make sure that your website is communicating that. Make sure that it's communicating, hey, we prioritize safety, we take care of our staff, we're going to stand on our reputation. Our reputation is everything in this industry. So showcase and highlight all of your certifications, all of your the things that really set you apart from your competitors should be listed on your page. Um, Make sure that if you have like good Yelp reviews, good Google reviews, those are showing up on your website because the whole purpose, once somebody's hit your site, when they are on your website, the goal is to have a website that is captivating and convincing enough to get them to give you their information and raise their hand and say, "Hey, I want you guys to come out and take a look at what I've got." So another way that you can do that is by posting blog posts. Now, if you hire an agency, this should be part of their practice is that they're going to post blogs to your website on your behalf. They will write the blog content. They will make sure that it's SEO optimized. They're going to be using the right keywords, and it's going to be good. It's going to be enjoyable to read, right? Because oftentimes what we'll see are people posting blog posts just for the simple sake of posting blog posts and layering on all the keywords, but it doesn't read very well. Nobody really wants to read it. So make sure that it feels like it's written by a human that is actually trying to communicate some valid points. And figure out what is who is my customer, right? What does my typical customer look like and what's important to them? And that should sort of be the driving force or the muse, right, of what your blog content should be about. Because nobody wants to read about something that's just not interesting to them with why you're the best tree service provider in the area. But if you want to put out something educational with how they can take care of a particular type of tree, that might be actually useful, and Google will reward you for that type of content. Um, so we talked about a lot. Just to recap, if you're going to take anything away from this podcast, hopefully it's to like the podcast, follow the podcast, because we're going to be having guests on here from the industry talking about the best tips and tricks and things to do to help grow your business. But the things I really hope you took away from today's content is you need a website. Even if you just start out base layer and build your own website for cheap or slash free, get a website up and going. That's priority one. Priority two is if you're wanting to build a website that's going to grow and scale with your business, use WordPress because it's going to be able to integrate with everything that you have. Optimize and make your website designed for mobile devices and use desktop as a secondary. That is a common pitfall that we see in our industry. And then learn a little bit about SEO and start getting your Google rankings to improve over time. And I promise you, this is not a night and day thing. You're not going to fire up a website and tomorrow you're going to be slammed with jobs. But over time, if you put in the reps, it will pay off. It will pay off in dividends. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Leave a comment on the video below. We are going to be on, all the major platforms. If you can always reach out to us directly, just send us an email at hello@arboristmarketingpros, and we will see you on the next one.